What's up, and welcome back to the Inside the Diamonds podcast. As you can tell by the voice, I am solo again tonight. JC is stuck at work, so it's just me. We want to get everything out. Busy weekend, a lot happened, so it's just me, CJ, and we're gonna roll with it. So probably a little bit shorter podcast tonight for all of you. So let's get this started off. So the first thing from this weekend that I wanted to talk about was I want to recap. We're about 6, maybe 7 weeks into the season, and we did our predictions, and I was wrong about some teams. Starting off, I had the Blue Jays finishing third in the American League East. Right now, they're fifth, and things don't look good. They have a minus 47 run differential, and watching them right now on my little TV, and they're down 2-1 to the Orioles. Tough series for them. We'll get to that later, as that's one of my things to talk about later on for things upcoming. What's up with Kevin Gausman? That was he signed there, and everybody talked about him being a potential Cy Young candidate and all of that, and he was great for the first couple of years, but this year, I don't know what's going on. On Saturday, he pitched against the Twins, went 3 innings, gave up 7 runs, 6 of which were earned on 10 hits, walked 2 and struck out 6. For example, this season, he is 2-3 with a 4.95 ERA. The whip's not bad, 1.51. He's got 37 strikeouts in 36 and a third innings. Not ideal. The next one I want to talk about is Jose Barrios. What a start he's had. I mean, he looks good. Again, he's pitching tonight against Corbin Burns, so that's a pitcher's duel. But the question becomes, if that team's struggling, are they going to sell at the deadline? And there's some pieces there they could sell. There's been talk, I've heard talk of, is Bo was talked about in the offseason going somewhere. Do they look into that now? Are they looking into it's time to rebuild? Justin Turner, 1-year deal to bat to go help a team, in a playoff chase. Jose Barrios, I don't know if they move him, but that's an option to explore. But there's a lot of pieces there that they might have to talk about. And that would be something to watch, especially as things go the way they're going. I mean, they got some tough series coming up. And if they can't right the ship, that AL East is tough. I mean, right now it's Orioles-Yankees just fighting at the top. You got the Red Sox and Rays. They're playing each other right now in the first game of a 4-game set. And, they're fighting each other for third place. And I said they were going to be fifth. And so that's one thing I was way off about. Another team that I want to talk about is the Rangers. I had them as my team that, we talked about in the beginning of the season, the Cardinals as the team that falls off. Nobody saw that free fall coming. At least I didn't. I don't think a lot of people did, but they were terrible last year and they're not good this year. That's another team that might move some people, but the Rangers, I had them as that team this year to fall off. And right now, entering play tonight, they're 22-20, and they're a half game back of the Mariners for first place. And not for nothing, at the point they're at, and they're going to get back 2 great pitchers if they're at the top of their game. Now, granted, we haven't seen, Scherzer pitched last year in the postseason, but wasn't himself. So what pitcher are we getting? But they're going to get Max Scherzer back and Jacob deGrom. And if both those guys are at the top of their game, that rotation is going to be something to watch. And Wyatt Langford's out, so they get Wyatt Langford back. There's a lot there. So right now, I'm way off on them. I'm surprised the start they've had. Wyatt Langford's a lot of fun to watch. Again, I said last year at draft time, I wanted him to be a Tiger. They went Max Clark. He ended up falling to 4, and the Rangers didn't pass up the opportunity to take him. So the next team was the Twins. I think I actually had the Twins 4th. I thought the Royals were going to be 3rd. I had the Tigers 1st, and I believe the Guardians 2nd. The Royals are good. That's another team that I didn't put on my list that I was wrong about because I thought 3rd, and they're right there. That division is going to be a jumble for most of the season, but it's a lot of fun to watch. It's a good race. But the Twins, I mean, what they've done after starting off, not so hot, they've won 7 of their last 10 and 17 of their last 20. So they're getting it everywhere. The hitting's there, the pitching's there, the bullpen. You bring in Duran and forget it. That game's over. I don't think many people are touching him. Another team, the final team that I want to talk about, the San Francisco Giants. And we actually, when we recorded the National League prediction podcast, the San Francisco Giants, we announced Blake Snell was signing right on the podcast. I had them right after that, I believe, finishing third or fourth. And the fourth, I mean, if I had them finishing second, then I'm completely off. I mean, they do not look good, and Blake Snell has not looked good. So, and I was at the Red Sox Giants game a couple weeks ago. Logan Webb was on the mound, and even driving the game, I was like, I'm just excited to see Logan Webb pitch. He didn't even make it 5 innings. So, I mean, that's a team that's interesting. I mean, that division's the Dodgers, and the Padres look good this weekend. I'll get into that a little bit later, but the Dodgers seem like that's their division, and everybody else there will fight for potentially a wild card spot or a playoff spot. The next big story from this weekend, Paul Skenes makes his debut. And at the end of the day, he went 4 innings. He gave up 6 hits, 3 runs, 3 of which were earned, hit 1 batter, walked 2, and struck out 7 on 84 pitches. Now, I didn't like the fact that they let him go at the 5th. He ran into a jam early. They let him finish that. He got out of it, no problem. Then he gets into the 5th inning, and he ran into a jam first and second. They took him out. Was the pitch count? Maybe, because of what he's pitched at, at AAA. But I think he should have finished the 5th, and, he put him in line for a win. And granted, it ended up being a 6-6 game. They went into a rain delay. Like, rain delay, you're going to take him out anyways. But they should have let him at least finish the 5th and see where they're at. Let him do his thing. Let him see where you got to let him win experience to get out of jams. It's part of the game. So, but not a bad debut. The fastball looks good. The splinter is one of the pitches I wanted to see a lot, and that looks good. And he dropped that thing in there nicely, and it was a good start. Very good start. The next team, we're going to stay with the National League Central. The Reds are struggling. I wish JC was here for this because he covers the Reds. But they're 1-9 in their last 10, and they've been outscored 50-23 with their lone win coming on Friday. And so I went through the pitching staff, and the lone win was by Andrew Abbott. But Lodolo has a 6.54 ERA in his last 2 starts over this stretch. Ashcraft under 3, Green under 3, Abbott's over 3 at a 3.60, and then Frankie Montas with a 4.21. It seems like from when I was looking at it, I didn't watch much of their games this weekend, but it seems like from what I saw from the box scores, the bullpen's costing them. And so is there a move that needs to be made to add to the bullpen? There's pieces available. I mean, they can move somebody. It was talked about all offseason. There's Jonathan India, a guy you move. Ellie De La Cruz is the best player on that team, and he's must-watch TV. I mean, I feel bad I didn't watch much of them this past week, but they seem to be must-watch TV. And that will be Paul Skenes versus Ellie De La Cruz. The first time that happens, locked in. Everybody should be locked in. I mean, Paul Skenes is must-watch TV. Ellie De La Cruz is there too. I mean, the game with the young prospects that are coming up or that are here and all that, they are must-watch. The game is a fantastic game, and it's changed so much, and there's so much to watch. I mean, there's so much talent now. So let's move on to, I talked about the Padres, and, they took on the Dodgers this weekend, and they went 2 out of 3. And Friday night, if you didn't watch Friday night was a pitching gem. I ended up going to bed watching that game in bed. And Tyler Glasnow for the Dodgers is a Cy Young favorite. He ended the night going 7 innings, giving up 1 run on a home run, which was the lone hit he gave up, walking 2 and striking out 10. Now, that's a great night. No, Michael King, who the Padres got in the trade for Juan Soto with the Yankees, well, he came out and went up to him. He went 7 innings. He didn't allow a run, gave up 2 hits, walked 3, and struck out 11. And Luis Arias, who the Padres acquired about a week and a half ago now from the Marlins, he with a walk-off single in his first game at Petco Park. I mean, that's storybook. Then on Saturday, the Dodgers win. James Paxton was dominant. He went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits, didn't allow a run, didn't walk anyone, struck out 4. And Freddie Freeman led the offense, going 2 for 3 with a double and a home run. So on Sunday, in the rubber game, Yu Darvish came out and he did his thing. 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 7 Ks. And the Padres offense, Jackson Merrill, who is in my top 10, I believe he's still there. He hasn't graduated yet. He might have. Or he wasn't in the top 10. One of the two. He was maybe in the top. He was definitely in the top 15. He went 3 for 4 with a run scored. Xander Bogaerts went 2 for 4 with a run and an RBI. And Fernando Tatis hit a home run. The Padres now are 5-3 against the Dodgers this year. They split the series in Seoul, and then since then the Padres have won both series here. So, like I said, it's the Dodgers division, but the Padres seem to be a kryptonite for the Dodgers right now. And both teams have pitching. I mean, the Padres guys aren't as big names. Like you got Yu Darvish, but you try to Tyler Glasnow, and don't forget they got Clayton Kershaw coming back. So there's a lot of talent in that Dodgers team. The Padres, though, they play good baseball, and they got a good bat in Luis Arraez. Bogarts is starting to get going. It seems like Merrill's a good bat. They got pieces. They got pieces all over the place, and so they can compete. The question becomes, both those teams, you put them head to head, the bullpen. And the Dodgers got the pieces that they might have to move guys to the bullpen. So, that's going to be a fun series. They got what? That's 8 games. So they got 5 games left against each other, I believe. I think it's 13 they play. So that'll be something to watch. The next thing. I wrote the other day, and I'm going to put the article link, if you're watching on YouTube, right here. I put about the Baltimore Orioles needing to acquire a reliever. Now, I know I'm decked out in Red Sox stuff. I'm watching the Red Sox. We all know I love the Red Sox, but I like baseball. I've always been, I'm a Red Sox fan and Tigers fan, but I love baseball. And so I'll watch any game. I'll watch any team. I like watching. I'll root for teams. I went to Camden Yards a couple of years ago, came home with a bunch of swag for the Orioles. I still, I think, was it last week or 2 weeks ago's podcast? I had an Orioles hat on. I'll wear that stuff. They got to figure something out there because they signed Craig Kimbrell. And in the article I wrote about their bullpen, and I forget exact totals I did the other day. And I've written so much lately that I can't remember off the top of my head. I believe they've blown 8 saves this year, with Craig Kimbrell leading the way. I believe he has 3. That might have changed by now, but when I published the article, that was where the numbers were at. And the biggest thing is they need somebody at the back end of that bullpen. That back end of that bullpen needs help. So what do you go do? Now, you have the pieces to go get anybody you want. You can go get anyone. Yeah, Craig Kimbrell has 3 still. Cano has 1. Aiken has 1. Webb has 1. Bauman has 1. And Colombe has 1. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. So they're still at 8. They didn't blow any this weekend. So I wrote about there's 5 arms out there that they could go get. And after I wrote about that, all of a sudden all these other articles coming out that they need a reliever. The name that popped up was Mason Miller. And now if you're not familiar with him, he is the closer for the A's. He touches probably 103 with his fastball. And, he plays on an Oakland A's team. So, again, I said last week that I was in on the A's. They had to go 4 or 5 wins last week against the Rangers and Mariners. They didn't do that. So I'm out on them. And they're going to look to sell. They're going to look to sell. So can the Orioles – now, the rumor is the asking price is absurd, which for a guy that throws 103 that could be a lights-out closer in this league, that seems realistic, that the asking price is kind of absurd. But the Orioles could go get him. They have the pieces. And I mentioned the other day I was commenting with somebody on an Orioles fan page, and they said, who do you move? And I said, they have a crowded outfield. And they just sent Kerstead down. And they have, Hayes came back today. Cedric Mullins is out there. They have pieces. And then they have, like I said, Kerstead, Kauser. They have, and Judd Fabian's in the system. They have a bunch of outfield prospects. There's a logjam. So you could move one of them. Now, if you go move one of them and you go get somebody like Mason Miller to be your closer, this team is good enough to win the whole thing. They could very well win the whole World Series. And if that's something like where you say, hey, let's go get 2 arms for the bullpen, and we have a back-end guy and an 8th-inning guy, you move Kimbrell to 6. And it's, at the end of the day, Kimbrell's here. I forget what his contract is. I thought it was 1 year. I might be wrong. They're going to get Felix Bautista back next year. But look at the Royals in 2015, how they won the World Series. They had their starter go 5 innings, and then they brought in their bullpen for the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, and they shut you down. That's how they won that World Series. The story has become, if you have a lights-out bullpen, you can win a World Series. So the Orioles have the lineup. With the addition of Corbin Burnes, they have the pitching. Now, I've said it in this, I believe I said it in the article. The pitching staff, they're going to have a question mark come once everybody's healthy. Because you got Kramer, Burnes, Means is back, and Cole Irvin, and I'm forgetting one other name, and I'm looking at the roster right now. Why can't I think of the other name? Oh, Bradish. How do I forget Bradish? And Grayson Rodriguez is right now on the injured list. He comes back. Who do you move? So that could add to your bullpen. That could be something. They did it with Jack Flaherty last year. They acquired him from the Cardinals at the deadline. Things didn't go right. They moved him to the bullpen. He was good in the bullpen. So they got to figure that out. They got to figure out the bullpen because that could be the one thing that holds them back from winning it all this year. I mean, right now it's been talked about. I think I said it last week where Gunnar Henderson seems like the best candidate besides maybe Juan Soto to win American League MVP. Corbin Burnes could be the American League Cy Young. And so the rookie of the year you could put up right now, it's Colton Cowser in the American League. They could run away with all 3 awards. They seem like the best team in baseball, and they're built that way all the way around. So if you're an Orioles fan and you're listening to this, do you agree? Like, you need a reliever. Go get a back-end guy in the bullpen, and this team's a full go. And maybe something pops up during the season, they need something else, but I think right now they have all the pieces they need. I was a little interested today about, the DFAing of McKenna. I'm kind of hoping he stays because in 9 games, he didn't play that bad. He had a 375 average, a 444 OBP, a 1.125 slugging, and he finished with a 1.569 OPS. I mean, I get it. You had to create room on the roster for the moves you were making, and he just was the odd man out. But I was a little surprised by that. And we all know that Jackson Holliday is coming up again at some point. He just got hot again. He had a good week. That'll be out tomorrow with my top 10 recap for prospects. So, I mean, Orioles are still my pick to make the World Series. I can't remember. I have to go back and listen to that podcast. I can't remember if I had the Braves or the Orioles winning it. But right now, I might lean the Orioles. If they get a closer, a back-end guy in that bullpen, the Orioles winning it all. So we'll move on. And this is something I was going to do a 2-part question on, and I decided not to. I want to start with, we got to put some respect on Cutter Crawford and Tanner Houck. And it was originally Cutter Crawford I was going to talk about a lot, but right now he's gone 5 innings, given up 4 earned runs on 7 hits. He's walked 1 and struck out 4. Not a bad night, but I took him out of the running. And I really want to talk about Tanner Houck, who is going to start, I believe, on Wednesday. Right now, he's got 8 games started. He's 3-4, not his fault. I mean, they lost Friday night. He gave up 3 runs. The Red Sox just didn't score for him. He's got a 2.24 ERA, which is 9th in all of baseball and 4th in the American League. He's got 50 strikeouts, which is 21st in baseball and 11th in the American League. He's got 52 1/3 innings pitched, which is 8th in all of baseball and 4th in the American League. And he's got a 0.97 whip, which is 12th in the MLB and 7th in the American League. And the other day, Major League Baseball came out with their top 10 pitcher power rankings. And while I agree with a lot of it, I mean, Skubal's on the list. Glasnow looks great. Emanaga's got the lowest ERA. Ranger Suarez has been dominant for the Phillies. Yamamoto, despite that first start in Sewell, he's looked good. Corbin Burnes is an ace. Again, one of maybe the Cy Young candidate for the American League, if not for maybe Skubal, which is who was my pick. Logan Gilbert looks good. Got lit up, though, against the Twins the other day. Jared Jones, part of that Pirates pitching staff with Skenes. Those 2 guys are going to be a problem for a long time, and Pirates baseball is a lot of fun to watch. And Jose Barrios. Now, Zach Wheeler is number 1, and he's the favorite to win the National League Cy Young. And so I know Tanner Houck is in the American League, and he's not going to win the Cy Young, at least not right now. But I want to compare him to Wheeler, who they have at number 1. And the fact that Tanner Houck's not in the top 10 kind of bothers me. So Wheeler has started one more game than Houck. Now, record, you can take that out because you could have a guy who has a 1-something ERA and he's 0-6. And that's just his team doesn't score for him. He gives up 1-2 runs and his team's not scoring. So you can take out the win-loss record. I don't look at that. But Wheeler has a higher ERA than Tanner Houck. He has a 2.53. Houck has a 2.24. The strikeouts is the big difference. Wheeler has 65. Houck has 50. Okay. That's also, I mean, Houck's not going to get 15 Ks in one start. So the one start difference doesn't really matter. Wheeler, one start more than Houck, has pitched 53 1/3 innings. Houck's 52 1/3. Wheeler also has a 0.99 whip, and Houck has a 0.97 whip. Now, I'm not saying Tanner Houck is Zach Wheeler, and I'm not trying to necessarily compare them exactly. More so along the lines of saying, if that's your number one pitcher, which rightfully so, he has looked good this year. He has been dominant. He had 11 Ks a couple days ago, and I think he actually, if I remember what I saw correctly, he struggled in his last outing. But if you're going to talk about Zach Wheeler as your number one pitcher, we got to put Tanner Houck in the top 10 conversation here. I mean, what he's doing, he's been dominant for the Red Sox, and there was the question in the offseason of him being a reliever, and a reliever only. This team is, I believe, off the top of my head, they're 2 games over 500, 3 games over 500 entering today, and right now they're down 4-3 against the Rays, but they're 2 games over 500. This team was expected to not make the playoffs, and now they may not. They really might not. But with all the injuries they've had, I mean, they're missing Tristan Casas. They're missing Trevor Story. They had Devers out for a period of time. They had Bayo out for a period of time. Whitlock is still out. Pavetta was out for a period of time. And they were piecing together things. And they were winning ball games. Now, I mean, the Andrew Bailey, I've said it so many times, the Andrew Bailey effect is proving itself that the pitching is good. And Tanner Houck is the perfect example of that. He is not a reliever. He looks like Chris Sale is a righty. Does that make everybody nervous that an injury's coming? Sure. It very well might. But the start that he's had, and again, we'll see what happens Wednesday, but I mean, he's looked dominant. And to not have him on the top 10, I want a little respect on his name. And I want the Red Sox to respect him and get some more runs for him. I mean, we've got Cutter Crawford out here tonight. He had 3 runs in the first inning. What happens in the bottom of the first? Tyler O'Neill hits a 3-run home run. We got a tie game. Now, it ended up being 4-3 now. They're still in the game. And Cutter Crawford's at 100 pitches. I mean, who thought Cutter Crawford was going to be this kind of guy? Everybody said, oh, he's a bullpen guy too. And I get it. Everybody wanted a pitcher. If they had another pitcher, things are different as well. But I also made the conversation, and hate on this all you want, and this might be the wrong way to word it. As far as a 1 through 5 rotation, if you put Cutter Crawford as the number 5 starter in a rotation, and you put that against all 29 other MLB teams, he might be the best number 5 starter. Might be. Again, I'm not saying he is. I'm not sitting here right now going through all 29 other teams and looking at their rotation, who's number 5. But he very well might be. Right now, he's pitching at the number 2 spot. Okay. Number 3 spot. But at the end of the day, he's number 5 starter, number 4 starter. Might be one of the best. Very well might be. And if not, you want to put Tanner Houck there? Tanner Houck might be the best number 4 starter. He's going up against Zach Wheeler in the numbers I just gave you, and Zach Wheeler's an ace. So, I know I'm a Red Sox fan. I might be biased, but I think he deserves respect with the numbers he's put up to this point of the season. And now Wednesday he'll make his 9 starts, so maybe the numbers after that don't look great, and it is what it is. But if he comes out of that and his numbers look eerily similar to Zach Wheeler, at least put him at 10. He's a top 10. He should be. But we can move on from that. I mean, that is what it is. The next thing I want to talk about is, if you're looking to join us, the link's right there. I'm looking for anybody who wants to cover baseball and just talk about it. And, there's stuff you can there's always something to do. there's always something to write about. There's roster moves, there's series previews, there's opinion pieces. Like I said, I just wrote 2 last week. I wrote about the Orioles needing a reliever, and I wrote about the Blue Jays and how they should look into maybe acquiring Jazz Chisholm. Now, I just said I think they're out of it, or they're getting close to out of it in May. So maybe that's not the move. But your team needed an infielder, outfielder like Jazz Chisholm, and you want to write about it? We got his place for you. We've got a lot of options. I actually just had somebody reach out to me. They're a doctor, and they want to cover injuries. So you're looking to hear about somebody suffering an injury and somebody covering it, and you want to read an article? We got that coming now too. So there's a lot of chances and a lot of different things that you can come do with us. So again, the link's right there. Email comes right to me. I reach out pretty much within an hour or 2 for the most part. I get you set up on our Slack, and then it's about 2 days to get a WordPress once I get the info out there, and you're up and writing, after 3 days after you apply pretty much, if you're really interested. So take a look at the link, take a look at the website if you're unfamiliar. Let's see what we can do for you. If you want to reach out to me, feel free. Let me give you my email here. Feel free to reach out. It is, I believe, CeelaValley@InsideTheDiamonds.com. Let me take a look and make sure. It is CeelaValley@InsideTheDiamonds.com. Feel free to reach out to me there if you want to talk and see if there's anything we can do. If you're looking for something in particular, if you're nervous about it, again, this is all part-time for us. So reach out. I'd be happy to hear from you. I'd be happy to talk to you. And we'll go from there. So the next thing is my prospect of the week. And JC loves when I do this, so I hope he actually listens. I know he's at work. And while he's working, I'm sure he'll tune in to a podcast throughout the week. I didn't do any pitchers this week. I didn't think any really stood out to me enough that I wanted to give them from the top 100. Again, the new top 100 is not out yet. I still got to work on that. I got work to do. It's a lot of work to do it. I'm hoping to have it out really soon. It might be June, but I'm hoping to have it out in May. We'll see what happens. But for right now, the number 12 prospect, Marcelo Meyer from the Boston Red Sox. He's on Double-A Portland. And hopefully soon he's on Triple-A because the numbers he's putting up, and he's the future of the Red Sox. He's one of the big 3 that everybody talks about. He went 8 for 23 this week, good for a 347 average. He had 4 doubles, 1 home run, 5 RBIs, 5 runs scored, 4 walks, 2 stolen bases. On the season, he's hitting .289 with an .809 OPS, 3 home runs, 20 RBIs, 23 runs scored, and 7 stolen bases. He struggled a little bit in spring training. I believe, if I remember correctly, out of the big 3 during the spring breakout game, he went 0 for 4. I think he had 3 strikeouts. So if you took that small sample size from what you saw and you're not tuning into a Portland game, you should. If you're a Red Sox fan listening to this, tune into a Portland game. The future's coming. They might very well be, all 3 of them, in Worcester very shortly. They'll all keep rising up rankings. So they're a lot of fun to watch. They had a bad week. I think they went 1-5. That'll be out tomorrow. My Red Sox down the farm, so check that out. But yeah, they went 1-5 in their 6 games against Binghamton. So Binghamton actually took first place from them, I believe. Yeah. The other one I want to talk about is the 8th overall prospect, James Wood. And one of our writers, he covers the Diamondbacks and the Nationals, Chance. He messages me every time this kid goes off, and rightfully so, and he actually wrote about it the other day, about the fact that they have a plan with him and they're not calling him out, at least it sounds like, till August. And I think that's a mistake, because right now what he's doing in the International League, he looks good. He's playing at Rochester. He's went 10 for 22 for a 454 average for the week with a double, 5 home runs, 12 RBIs, 10 runs scored, a stolen base, and 4 walks. He is the prospect of the week. On the season, he's hitting .346 with a 1.025 OPS. He's got 7 home runs, 23 RBIs, 33 runs scored, and 9 stolen bases. This guy is a core piece to the future of the Washington Nationals, among the top 5 of the order in Double-A Harrisburg, who I saw on Wednesday when I was at the Fisher Cats game. And if you haven't read that article, you should check it out. It is on the website under both the Nationals and the Blue Jays, where I covered the game that I was at, covered the two Blue Jays prospects I saw and the 5 Nationals prospects I saw among the rest of the game. So with that, we'll move on to the series to watch this week. And the first series I want to talk about to watch this week is Toronto and Baltimore. And I was saying it earlier when I would put the game on the TV that I always like watching the Orioles and the Blue Jays. And even with the Blue Jays not being good, it's still a fun series. Battle of the Birds. So tonight we got a pitcher's duel. Corbin Burns is facing Jose Barrios. It's 2-2 right now in the bottom of the 9th, so Orioles could walk it off here with a home run. Oh, and Adley just popped out. So, and that's 1 out. We might get a walk-off while we're alive. Tomorrow we got Chris Bassett versus Kyle Bradish. And then on Wednesday in the finale, we got Kikuchi versus Cole Irvin. That's going to be a fun series to watch. It seems like the Blue Jays, even though they're struggling, they show up for this series. And rightfully so. Everybody's going to show up for the Orioles. They're one of the best teams in baseball. The next series I want to talk about is the one that I mentioned earlier, was the Red Sox and the Blue Jays. And I want to see it more so because the pitching matchups, like the Red Sox have Bayo's back now, and he won't pitch in this series. But like I said, the Rays pitching isn't there. And so can the Red Sox lineup get something going and reestablish themselves? So tonight we had Cutter Crawford against Zach Eflin. Tomorrow we have Aaron Savali versus Nick Pivetta. Can Pivetta get himself back on track? He just came off the injured list and made his first start against the Braves last week against Chris Sale. Taj Bradley will pitch for the Rays on Wednesday against Tanner Houck. And then in the finale on Thursday, it's a 4-game series. We got Zach Littell against Cooper Criswell. Criswell's been a secret weapon in the rotation since the injury of Whitlock. So it's another series. The final series I'm going to talk about for the week is Cleveland and Texas. And that's because, like I mentioned, Texas I was wrong about. And so I want to see, with the Guardians being one of the best teams with the best record in the American League, can the Rangers, compete against that right now? And right now it's 0-0 in the bottom of the 4th. And we got Tanner Beebe for Cleveland going against Michael Lorenzen for the Rangers. And then tomorrow it is Ben Lively versus Jack Leiter, big top prospect for the Rangers. He's not in the top 100. He was when he was first drafted, but he seemed to have struggled in the minors. On Wednesday, it's going to be Carlos Carrasco versus John Gray. So that's another series to watch. Can the Rangers prove, they're there? We'll see. And see what happens come after Wednesday. It'll be something I'll probably talk about in next week's podcast. And then this weekend, we got Pirates Cubs again. We're going to get Paul Skenes, his second appearance. And the big question is, you make your second appearance. Usually it's against a different team. Now he's got to learn quickly with his second start. He's facing the same team. So what kind of adjustments can you make coming out? Because they've seen you. And they've seen you for, 84 pitches. So they know what you got. And how do you attack that lineup differently in your second start against them? And immediately your second start against them. And that's something I talked about with Tanner Houck a couple weeks ago. Perfect example. His ERA when he faces the team once was fantastic. He faces the team the second time, like the Guardians and the Angels, he struggled. So what kind of game plan do they come up with Skenes? Do we see a little bit more of the splinker, a little bit more of the off-speed stuff, or do they just say, hey, hit him with your fastball in the corner. Let's get more location on this and let's see what happens. That'll be something to watch this weekend. That'll be a series to watch. Right now, I've heard people say he's going to go Friday. Seems like to me that with no off days, he's slated to go Thursday. If that's the case, what do they have for Wednesday? Yeah, Jared Jones is going to go against Justin Steele, it looks like. And then in the first game, and then the second game is probably, maybe I'm off here. Where am I at? That's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So Thursday seems like it'll be Jared Jones versus Justin Steele. So Friday will probably be Paul Skenes. Is the plan. The next series is the Mariners and the Orioles. And I talked about the Orioles, at length tonight. And the Mariners are a good team. Right now they lead the American League West. So that'll be a battle of two teams, as of right now at recording, that lead their division. By the end of the week, when they match up, they may not be the case. But That'll be a series to watch. Are the Mariners figuring things out? They have the pitching, but the lineup has gone off to a slow start. So have they figured things out? We'll see. And they're probably going to see Corbin Burns in the final game. So that's another one. Guardians Twins, a battle of that's going to be it for first place at the end of the week. The Twins are the hottest team, like I said earlier. Could they take first place? And if they do, they may not give it back. So that'll be a series to watch. Another one is the Padres and the Braves. Like I said earlier, the Padres seem to be getting better, and the Braves are the Braves. Both teams are in second place in their division. That's actually, I believe, Sunday Night Baseball this weekend, so that's a good series to watch. I watched the Braves Mets last night. The Braves lost in that walk-off. I think otherwise they would have swept. So that's another series to tune in. And finally, the series this weekend that I'm going to talk about to watch is the Red Sox and the Cardinals. And it's not because it's something to watch. It's just because it's the 2004 World Series rematch. And it's something I like to see, and the nostalgia, and they're back at that stadium. And again, it's one of those things like with the new schedule where everybody plays everybody. You don't see them play in St. Louis that often. So it's nice to tune in for that. So that is what's coming up this week with the series to watch. The final thing I want to say is when this happens, especially when it's just me, I want something to talk about. So what I want to do is, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, and for those of you that see us on Facebook and follow us there, and when this gets posted there, if you watch it or whatever, I want you to comment on the video, or on YouTube on the video, and on Facebook on the comment section. And I want to hear like what team you want to hear me, JC, you want to hear us, or one of us, whoever it is. What do you want to hear us talk about? Like, are we not, like, if you're a Rockies fan and they're not having a good season, you want to hear us talk about them? I want to give love to all 30 teams. And, there's stuff where I can watch so much. I mean, I try to watch big inning, but you don't get all the late games, and sometimes I'm in bed, especially with work and everything. So I don't want to miss out on a team. And so if I'm lacking a team and you want to hear more about a team, let us know. Give us in the comments. And if you don't follow us, and if you're just seeing the article and this is at the bottom of the article and you're listening to it there, you can follow us on all 3 socials at Inside the Diamonds. And just give us a like, give us a follow. And, if you, like I said, the part of the join is if you want to write for your team and you don't see your team covered, say something about it. But for sure, comment on the video and tell us who we're not covering enough, and we'll talk about it on the podcast. I'm not going to leave anybody out. I try to cover as much as I can with as much as I watch and about who I can talk about. So let me know. It's the best I can do. So with that, we come to the end of our 10th episode. Can't believe it's already been 10. This was like a pipe dream in January. So we're at 10 episodes. And with that, we're going to wrap it up. I hope everybody enjoys their week of baseball. There's a lot to watch out there. We'll see what happens. I hope you all enjoy your week. Enjoy the baseball.